Okay.
I'm okay.
That should be it. Yeah, okay, we should be live. There we
Oh,
go. I hope you,
it should be.
you should be. We are. We're totally
There we
live.
go.
Look, there
We
you
are.
are. Look at that. You got a little cat with a knife.
Oh, maybe I'll silence that so they
Oh,
can't hear it.
yeah.
Hello.
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 Hello, pretty people.
How are you, Noah?
I'm good. I'm excited to talk about this. How are you doing?
I'm not excited to talk about this.
I am because it was
I
I mean, it wasn't even an experience, this book.
it I mean it might have been. I've got amnesia.
I noticed.
I can't remember very much about this book, which
I can fill you in on some things. It's fine. Unfortunately, I remember everything. So,
I well, that is the biggest complaint I can make about this. When
hmm.
do I not remember things about books? Because I don't make notes.
You don't make notes, and that's still something that baffles me.
Yeah, and I remember stuff.
Yes.
This thing,
Mm.
nah.
No, no chance.
I remember the name Elspeth.
And that's the only name you remember. Oh, and Mary.
Because I've never heard the name before, and I probably never will again.
No, but I liked the name for that reason, though. To be honest, in
Yeah.
the book,
It is the most memorable thing about this book, along with the cover, which is a
yes,
lie.
yeah, pretty much everything about this book is a lie, and I'm very disappointed in it.
Was
Yeah.
the house on a big hill?
Near a big hill.
Because
It was near a cliff.
Okay.
It was something like there was like a cliff, and they were like a good bit back, but it wasn't like at the cliff.
Because the cover has it on the top of a hill.
Either way, it's lying. The name of the book, The Whistling is a Lie, by Rebecca Nelly. It does this whole thing that, oh, this person goes to be a nanny for this child, and there's this whistling, ooh, and it's like that throughout the whole like nearly 400 pages, there was like 3 whistles.
I mean, it's whistling at a window.
It is. It's air passing through a window.
Yes, it certainly is. But first of all, Noah.
Yes.
Let me just type that so it goes in your Discord. So I need to preface everything first.
Okay.
I don't really read horror.
You don't.
Not
It's
my
not
go-to
yours.
genre. And gothic horror is, I think it's fair to say after this one, probably not going to be to my taste.
I think this was a bad example of a gothic horror that I could have given you, to be honest. This is the worst gothic horror I've ever read.
This is the worst book you've given me.
I have to agree.
And you did lend me The Beast briefly.
I did. Well, both in their own right, they were bad books. We don't talk about the Beast. Don't do this to me.
Okay.
TikTok lied to me on that one as well.
Did TikTok tell you about this one?
No.
Well, you can't blame TikTok then, can you?
Shh.
You've got bad luck with
books.
TikTok books.
I do. I really do.
But, right, so I don't read horror.
No.
Generally speaking. I've read quite a bit in the last year. I'm beginning to learn what I like. I don't like this.
Yes.
You do read horror.
I love horror.
What did you make of The Whistling?
I hated it. It was the most...
Vacuous?
It was just a vacuum of brain-numbing stupidness, to be honest. And like I said, like the whole thing was a lie. It tells you about these cool things. Wait, where's my book? Oh, damn. Wait.
Have you been disorganized?
No, I can see it. Okay, so it's like on the back. Oh my god, I can't see in this light. Ow.
This is
Sorry.
why I turned my light on.
Yeah, no. It tells you that she's going to go be a nanny for a girl, and there's lullabies and stuff, and it talks about how the whistling, and when you hear it, it's too late, you are going to die. Nothing like that happens. It doesn't even tell you that it's a historical fiction or anything like that.
Shall we start with a synopsis before the rants begin?
Okay, go on.
Oh, I've got to read it. Now, while I'm reading this, can you go and find the quotes about how good this book is? Because I know that'll set you off straight away from like the Daily Mail and so on. Well, they're actually on the front.
They're on the front.
So, when Elspeth arrives on a remote Scottish island to become nanny to a young child, she hopes to bond with her. No, she wants money. until she learns that the girl has not spoken for months. Well, actually, that didn't put her off. So there we go. There's line number 1. And Mary's silence is not the only mystery. No, I read all the pages. Hypnotic lullabies drift down empty corridors. Strange dolls appear in abandoned rooms. And as the nights draw in, darker questions arise. What's happened to Mary's late twin, William? Why did their previous nanny disappear so suddenly? And is the whistling Elspeth hears at night just the storm outside? Or is it something else? A promising premise.
It is. It sounded pretty good.
So, what is the praise for this book?
Oh, let me tell
It's
you.
got you really angry, from
got-
what I remember.
Gripping, chilling, and very, very satisfying. Perfect for a cold winter's night. A ghost
That's true.
story that keeps me guessing. Genuinely eerie.
Okay. So,
Incredibly haunting and utterly gripping. I can't even.
Okay, so it is perfect for a cold winter's night.
As
because
Kindle in?
everybody- Yes. A ghost story that kept me guessing. Actually, that's accurate. Not for good reason.
No, not for good reason at all.
And I will, as a minor, I better fetch my review up for this, Anna, so I actually know, because that's the only level of notes that I've got. It does have some moments. Not many.
There's like 2 moments throughout the whole book, and that was it.
There's...
There wasn't enough to it.
So, the first problem I ran into was it was never made clear to me anywhere that this was set in 1860.
No, not until you start reading the book.
Yes.
If you just go off the cover and what it says in the back of the blurb, it doesn't tell you anything.
Yeah. Now, not all Gothic horror, I realise, is set in the Victorian era.
Mm-hmm.
But a hint would have been nice.
Yeah.
So that's... So Milo agrees.
Yes, Milo the dog agrees.
So I ran into a problem that I run into quite a lot, which is... And the more I think about this, the worse it actually is with this.
Yeah.
Is that because language has changed, I struggle a little bit because of the way I read when I read classic literature. And some of the cadence and the word choice was, we'll say old-fashioned.
Yeah.
Until you really start reading it.
Yeah.
And then it isn't. It's just not modern, which is not the same thing.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel 1860s English.
No, not at all.
It feels 1920s English, if anything.
Yeah.
Posh.
Yeah.
So that baffled me. And then I got bored and forgot everything that happened.
I noticed.
Which I also need to add, you were far more positive about this after your first reading stream. Now, you got to like page 97, I think?
Yeah, and my whole attitude changed with the book.
Yeah. I'd reached page 237 by the time we finished that stream.
Yeah.
And you can do the beat by beat for this.
What do you mean?
As in going through exactly how this story unfolded or flopped, as the case may well be.
Am I really gonna go? Okay, so obviously Elspeth, the main person, protagonist, whatever you want to say, on a ship, goes to this Scottish land of Skelsdith or something like that to be a nanny for.
It's sea something, isn't it? Oh no, it's Skelfsea.
Skelfsea.
Yeah, that's fortunately on the first word on the second line, so I could put that easily.
I'm glad you did. Goes to be a nanny for this young girl named Mary, and then she finds out when she gets there that Mary is basically a selective mute for reasons because her mum recently died, Evangeline, and her brother, I'm assuming they were twins, died very recently, like a good couple months ago, and she's basically grieving. And then as she's basically trying to get this young girl to talk, everyone's an asshole. No one tells the truth. No one is honest. Everything flops. I get angry. Because there were so many red herrings when it didn't need any red herrings.
I mean, you say red herrings.
Well, no, it's just, oh, you can blame this person because for this reason, but wait, no, it's okay. You can't blame this person because they're dead. So you can go blame this person then. But no, it's okay, they're gone too. So we can go blame this person then. Kind of makes sense, but no, we're going to go to this person. Change my mind, I'm going to jump to this person. And it was like, can you just pick a person? And then at the end, it was just like, not any of the people you wanted out of there. So in this short book of what, nearly 400 pages of this long, just dreadful book, there's over like 15 characters in the book. I can name 11 of them, roughly.
I can name 2 without looking at my sheet.
Oh, it drives me nuts.
So this is 375 pages, I think it is.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be honest, this is very big typeset, so big writing.
Mm-hmm.
And that made it only feel like 600 pages to me. Because it was that bloody dull.
It's a very dull book.
If this had been normal typesetting, I don't think I would have made it through.
The thing is, though, is...
I appreciate you donating to my fuel fund by giving me this.
As it's going to my fuel fund too. It could have easily been cut down to maybe like 100 pages, like a proper short book. But the thing is that it built on like this is a gothic horror. There's going to be these eerie, chilling moments, these thrills, and there was nothing thrilling about it. It's like getting into like a watching a thriller movie, and there was no thrill, nothing happened. It's the same sort of thing. Nothing technically happened in this book. The ending isn't really an ending. The ending that I predicted to happen is better than the ending that we got.
So what was your prediction?
Oh god, I was hoping to be like a... Do you remember that old movie where they were stuck in... It was called The Village, and it was like a secretly a cult sort of thing.
You say old movie?
I say old movie, it was early 2000s.
That's the M. Night Shyamalan.
Yeah, I assumed this was going to be the same. It would have been better if it was.
So, for me,
yeah,
this is a book of missed opportunities.
So many.
Because you have a creepy mute child.
Yep. Could have really gone somewhere with that.
Yep. You have
dolls.
There's the dolls and the puppetry in the doll's house. You can go somewhere with that.
Yeah.
And it did a little bit, just not a great deal, but that was a thread that got tied off very quickly.
The thing is, though, it gave us all these threads for all these cool things, and none of them were useful, and nothing happened.
Or they just got dealt with. Like the doll's house. Very quickly discovered the doll's house and found the dolls.
Yeah.
I took them to the White Witch, who was called, I don't know, Ethel? Violet? No.
Alison or something like that, yeah.
Who then took them to magical pagan standing stones that weren't standing anymore.
No.
And did a unbinding spell.
Yeah.
And that was it for that. And why was Alice not the bad person?
I don't know. Why did no one question that Alice was this white witch that everyone was hating on? Because they clearly hated anything to do with that. And they knew she talks about things about this and knew things, but they didn't care. But they cared about when it was other people.
Yeah, I just... So, right. There's multiple ways. For me, and again, this is just my opinion. Because I do realise we do seem to be a little bit in the minority with this.
I'm baffled by that.
Not entirely in the... Oh, God. How do buttons work? Not entirely in the minority, but enough that it's... What did you give this?
I gave it 1 star.
You gave it 1 star?
Mm-hmm.
It's
rare I give something 1 star.
So you're saying this is as bad as I'm Charlie?
No, that's a completely different... I'm Charlie is fucking awful.
Yeah.
I think this is a little bit above that.
Okay. So at the moment, this sits on Goodreads. My God, where is it?
It has a decent amount of reviews.
3.72.
Yeah.
Which I'd say is a very good score.
It is, yeah.
And
until you read it, it's not. I think people read it and lied. Because what they say and put down in there does not make sense with this.
No. Now, I need to add that I did not judge it as harshly as you.
No, you didn't.
No. So there we go. I can actually read my review. That's how things work. I don't need it in that big typeset because I'm not that old. So look. So the basic beat is she looks after baby child, trying to get the child to speak. A psychiatrist keeps coming over to tell them that the child needs to be sectioned for being insane or whatever.
Yeah, because she's mute.
Yeah, and comes back every 6 months. I realise there's a thing because of the time setting with this. This does not do neurodivergence well.
No.
It does not do trauma especially well either.
Well, the thing is, I realised, right, so Rebecca Netley, she's only released 2 books. There's this one and another one, and then she released the other 2, this one and the other one, in German for some reason. But when I was reading through, I realised she doesn't really do research.
Okay.
So
explain that.
So
because I don't research things myself,
no, if you're a writer and you're going to write about stuff, especially something to do with like whistles and ghosts and white witch sort of stuff, paganism, Wiccan, and anything to do with neurodivergence or autism or anything like that, or Down syndrome, which I believed her sister had in this.
Okay.
The research was not there. There's nothing to back up. Yeah, she had a sister that died that was burnt in a fire, who basically said was mentally behind, but also had other issues.
Yes.
And then described her to be as Down syndrome.
Okay, I forgot all that.
That's all good.
And you have a hook there for that character dying in a fire, and then we fast forward to the person who's looking after Mary, who has half her face burnt off.
Yep.
After an accident.
Yep.
You could link those together. Now it's a bit of a stretch. That could be a red herring.
It could be.
Because
that could have been cool.
Story connotations there.
I think that would have been cool if she was like there.
So, my thoughts on this is that this should have been possession.
I think possession was a good way to go.
Almost like a flashback story, but probably not in the way that you're thinking, because not the child being possessed.
Violet. Elspeth being possessed.
What this story tells is through trauma and nightmares, when she goes to sleep at night, she dreams, and she's dreaming of the house. She's on the island, for whatever reason, but she's seeing the events that happened in the 1860s, and as she wakes up, she slowly starts to lose her grasp on reality. What's real, what's not? Is there a link between these things? You then link the death whistle in, so you pull the death whistle through to it.
Widow's whistle.
Yeah, widow's whistle, death whistle, whatever it's called. And you can do a really interesting sort of time slip story of, is this real? Is this imagined? Is this fake? Is there magic? Is there a ghost? What's really going on? Because you have the unreliable narrator trope, which is one that I do quite like. And this does kind of have, but it's sanitized down to a point of, well, they're not exactly an unreliable narrator, they just don't know anything because they made a cardboard.
Well, that's the thing, though. Why have so many, like, 15 characters in a book like this, and they're all really bland?
There's an answer for that. That all red herrings. Or, in the shopkeeper's case, they're there to put you off suspecting any of the women at the beginning. Because he was a horrendous character who had no place and should have been stoned.
Yeah, I agree.
Clear. But he was literally there to be the obvious bad guy at the start.
I didn't take him as the bad guy at all, to be honest. I didn't think that.
I didn't think he'd be the cause of a death. But he's definitely there to act as a distraction.
Oh, yeah.
It creates more sympathy for the female characters, which is fine. You know, just to be clear, horrendous character. You know, I do not condone his behaviours.
Yes. Womanizer.
There was a couple of characters like that, though.
Yeah.
In fact, actually, just on a side rant, male characters were not treated well in here.
Nope.
They're either dead or cheaters.
Yeah, because even Evangelina, her husband, disappeared, didn't he?
Yeah.
Oh, Evangeline. I love that name.
It is a good name. But yeah, you could do a strange thing where, they go to the sort of as I don't know, they're studying the heritage, maybe, I don't know. Maybe their great grandmother once lived there. It turns out the grandmother was a governess for child there. And as they're there, something happens, and you have the ghost of the child, and you're slipping back in time with all the dreams, figure out what happened to Mary. But Mary's still alive. Mary's a ghost, or Mary's something else. Or it depends how you decide to do your time difference here. Because if you set this in, if this wasn't set in 1860, if it was set a little bit later, say you set it in 1910, and then you fast forward to I don't know, 1975, then you can have Mary as the adult under a different name.
That could work. That could have worked.
That is kind of pulled directly from The Only One Left a little bit by Riley Sager. But it can work. It's a point of interest. Instead, what we have is we have a child who is mute, which is put down to trauma, but it's actually probably fear.
Yep.
As well, which is fine.
Yep.
Child feels threatened, keep quiet.
Yep.
But then you have the roping in of a side character who is made out to be horrific and is badly served by the story because of their own divergence issues. And again, I do need to add the caveat, this is Victorian era.
Yeah.
It wasn't quite at the stage of stoning people to let the dark spirits out. But hey, Jaleesa, you okay, hon?
Hello.
It was just... So it's and it was repetitive. I'm feeling myself getting wound up now, and I can't remember anything about the book. But, how many times do you have to tell us, oh, I got up and had breakfast in the parlour? And then we went
every single chapter, at least twice.
Yeah, which you can fast forward over.
That's what I'm saying. If we took them all out, it would be half the size.
Yeah. So, and the other thing is, this almost reads like a
journal,
memoir,
or a memoir. Journal. I like that, memoir.
Yeah, but it's a halfway house of a memoir.
Yeah.
The way you do it is that you literally break it down and write it as a memoir, full on.
Probably would have been easier and better, to be honest.
By date, got up, did normal things, then went and did this, and this happened.
Yeah.
And you're establishing that there's a routine.
There's a time, really the days are passing. Yeah. That would have helped so much.
Yeah, because the other thing I didn't get any sense of really with this was a sense of actual time.
Yeah. It was, you've gone there and all of a sudden it's been 6 months, and it's like, well, what's happened in this 6 months then?
Well, she had dinner in the parlour.
That's pretty much what we know of, yeah.
Yeah. And then occasionally sat in lessons and sometimes wandered around the island. Which...
Picked up shells on a beach with the mute child.
Yeah, which is fine. You can put that in a couple of times.
Mm-hmm. Not all the way through.
Yeah. It served a purpose when they found the dead body.
Yes.
You establish that this is an activity that we're doing, and you're doing this activity, and then bad things happen.
Yeah.
Okay. Fine. Make it more interesting. Or, don't attack me. Or, just make it slightly interesting.
Yeah, the book was boring. There was no interest in it. It was... the reason why I read it so fast because I knew it was boring, but I wanted to at least finish it.
That is why, when you said on stream, how are you reading this so fast?
For that reason.
I wanted it over. I woke up the next day and finished it in about 45 minutes.
I don't blame you, to be honest. Yeah. The main thing also... Go on, sorry.
I'm trying to think what I've moved on to since then, and I can't even remember.
So, No, go on.
No, I forgot what I was going to say.
Oh, bless
My
you.
brain's a bit...
It's been a day.
Talking about art theory.
I don't want to talk about that. I'm really annoyed by that, to be honest.
I'm not surprised.
It's the fact that we had, as you call them, we had all these threads. I got up and had breakfast, and it's pretty much, Jaleesa, pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much. But it's the fact that it had loads of threads that it made to all these different things. Like there was so much that it was going through, but each thread that it brought into it was instantly tied off. Apart from at the ending was shit. That there was still so many threads that should have been like tied off, and they weren't. There's no actual ending to this.
As I entered the hall, Iskar felt different.
That's the house. That's the name of the house that they're in.
Chapter 13. I was sore from lack of sleep, and the day ahead settled on me like a sigh. It's like, really? How could a sigh settle on someone? And is that one of your OnlyFans sounds? Or anyway.
How dare you? Hey, Jenny.
Hey, Jenny. All right. But the thing is, there are moments that are creepy. So the whole thing with Doll's House.
I wanted that to be that. Normally, dolls freak me out. I was just bored.
Yeah, but the idea was sound, but like, the dolls were clearly meant to be us. How?
Tell me what they looked like. Yeah, exactly. All that we know is that the faces on the dolls were scratched out, so they didn't have any features.
Yeah.
How did you know they were you? Because they were in the bedrooms that they were designated to under the bed.
That doesn't quite work. But the other thing you have is, I would assume, and again, you correct me if I'm wrong, because I could be. If you're doing gothic horror, I would assume it's quite descriptive on the environment.
So descriptive.
Or, of like, because I don't know why. I expect, when I think gothic horror, I imagine the Addams Family Mansion.
It can be. It's very... I find gothic horror is very atmospheric, it's very descriptive, and it has this sort of like grandiose theme to it at the same time. And this book just lacked all of that. She described the island a little bit and the cliff and the rocks on the side, and that was it.
Yeah, and that's because there were some descriptions of food, as in
it was bland tasting. They can't cook.
Can cook well.
This person made nice food. This person did not make nice food, but we had to pretend we liked it just because they were helping us. It's like, okay, great, but how does this add to things?
Well, it's like, because it was set in
1860.
No, not that. Would you
Scotland.
Call it first person?
I would say, yeah, first person.
I get slightly thrown whether this is first or second person.
No, it's because let me have a look. First person. It is first person.
So it doesn't really explain anyone's anything.
And we don't actually really know what Mary looks like or any of the other characters. Or we know that Violet, like one of the main characters, has a burn on her face. And apparently she was pretty, and her sister was the prettiest of them both. Yes. Didn't describe her. I don't know what the characters look like.
No, but again, you never got a sense of actual fear or unsettledness. I slept badly, I had nightmares, I felt nervous, I felt tension. Okay. That is a very stiff upper British way to speak, but she's Scottish.
Rebecca Netley isn't British.
No, I mean in terms of the character.
Oh, right. She's meant to be British.
Yeah. So you can argue, and from money as well, that it's established that she's from a reasonable upbringing in terms of money. So you can kind of explain.
Well, yeah, they're in Edinburgh. She's from Edinburgh, isn't she?
Yeah, I need to find. Right, I've just grabbed another book off my shelf, which I haven't read yet.
Oh, no.
But I'm just looking specifically for an example of descriptiveness.
Okay.
So, this is from...
Oh, I've got something for you.
Okay, if you have one from this book...
No. For a gothic horror, right, for description-wise, like, here's one that I'm reading at the moment that I've read numerous times in the past. But it basically says, like... said Caroline Glynn, she was elderly, tall, and harshly thin with a hard colourlessness of face, and she spoke with acrimony, and it talks about like how she looked and what kind of a stature she had and stuff like that. There was nothing like that in the whistling.
Yeah,
like, the descriptions are like proper on it.
About the point that you lost interest in the book, so we're at page 89.
Yeah.
Later, in my bed, my thoughts tangled. Alexa, off. Sorry, Alexa's trying to play music.
How dare it?
Alexa, shut up. Right. Anyway, later in bed, my thoughts tangled. That sounds 1860s.
Mhm.
I was a rational being. I did not believe in the supernatural, and yet I had been presented with things that I could not explain. The sounds, the odd glimpses of something that should not be there. Turning on the sheets, I buried my face in the pillow. I began to doubt my own judgment. I remembered that after Clara's death,
Oh, Clara,
what was
that's the name.
real and what was not became muddled, and I was no longer fully able to trust my senses. That is an exposition dump. It tells you nothing.
But the whole book's that, though. That's what I'm saying. This could easily be like, maybe like a 60-page, 100-page little gothic novel, and I'd be happy with that. It wouldn't have been
Whereas,
bad.
so I'm not going to name the book that I'm looking at right now because I
Hmm.
haven't read it. I've just opened to a random page.
Oh god, don't read a random page if you're just not even you haven't read it yet.
It's fine. It's the middle of the book, so it's fine. Hang on. Make sure there's nothing here that I shouldn't be able to. Oh no, maybe not that one.
You shouldn't even be doing this right now.
You know my approach to stuff.
I
like...
hate when you do this. I got told off for doing that.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
By who? You know I do this with books.
By Jenny.
Anyway. By Jenny?
Yeah.
Just so you know, before I buy a book, I read a page from the front, a page from the middle, and a page from the end.
Because I went to do that to see if I wanted to buy the book.
Yeah.
And I kind of understand why, because it could ruin things. It could be like huge spoilers, so I'm with her on that at the same time.
But, right. Referring to Atlas 6.
Oh.
Spoilers make the book better.
I need something to happen in that book.
There's plenty that happens in that book.
No.
You know what? There's so many things in there that I don't actually know where to start. So I'm going to put that back down. Because that's going to be another very dark read, I suspect.
It ruins. See, she's got a point that it does ruin the surprise.
It depends why you read a book. Right.
For the surprises and the story.
I don't read a book for that.
Why do you... Wait, here, this is a very good question, right? Why do you read a book?
For the journey, not the surprise.
But is that not part of the same thing?
No. So, right. When you do a review...
Yeah.
What do you look at?
How
do you break it? When you structure it,
yeah.
how exactly do you break it down? And what do you give... So say you're giving something a score...
Yeah.
What gets more weighting off you towards that score?
The story and the characters.
Okay. For me, it's never the story. The story doesn't interest me. Like, at all. It's why, like, a few of the books that I've read recently, these stories don't interest me that much. The stories are fine. That's not the interesting thing. It's the characters and their place in the world and how that interaction happens. It's why I babble on so much about passive world building in stuff. So, for example, in Fourth Wing, very mild spoiler here. At the very start of the book, very mild, so it doesn't really spoil anything, and I'm not going into detail. Stop it. So, Violet Sorrengail is was going to be trained to be a librarian, basically. I can't remember the term they use in the book now. But then her dad died, who was one of them, and her mum went, "No, you're going to become a dragon rider." So she's getting a pack ready, and she's put all her books in the pack. And her sister comes in and goes, "You can't take all those. It's too heavy. You need to walk across this incredibly dangerous place that's probably going to kill you anyway to get there. Take out what you don't need." And there's one book in there, and it's a book of folk tales from the realms.
Folk tales sort of stuff.
And without going into any detail, that book is really important. It's a really passive, and it's mentioned a few times, like when she's made it to Besgaeth and she's in her dorm and she's sleeping, she's thinking, "I wish I had my book to read and read about A, B, C, and D, you know, all these mystical creatures and so on and so forth." And it plays into the story because that book is more important than you think as she goes to try and get a copy from the library, and it's not even in the banned book section. So it's like, okay, so and it's that very mild story build, and then the character's place in the world is related to that. The actual story doesn't matter to me. As a rule of thumb, I like a good twist, but I'm more interested in where a character starts and finishes and seeing if I can figure out how they get there along the way.
That's part of the story and the journey is for them to go and like, see, this is what we said. So Jenny says, I don't go off reviews or ratings. If I read the blurb, that's what gets me and want to read the book. And Jaleesa says, I mostly often go in blind. And then you're here like, I'm not even interested in the story. Yes, the journey there and stuff like that, but that's also part of the story. Does that not go hand in hand?
It can and it can't. So it depends on where the focus of the book is. So as an example, what's a good example? Throne of Glass.
Okay.
Throne of Glass is story. The characterization of Throne of Glass so far is shit.
But it is story heavy.
But it's story first. The character, at least in the first 2 books, doesn't really progress at all. They just, unless it's for plot reasons, and that's the difference. When a character makes a decision for reasons of plot rather than reasons of character. And that's how I differentiate the two. So I'll look how the character journey goes first, and then I break it down. Does that serve the plot naturally? Or is it there just to serve the plot? Does that make sense? I'm not explaining that very well.
I'm choking on saliva. Yeah, no, that makes sense.
But quite often you'll have the story of the book, and then you'll have the journey of the character, and they go hand in hand. They do, but they're not always the same thing. So, for example, with Hell Followed With Us, which I think is more of a character piece, it does have a clear story. The story is secondary to me to the character, and it doesn't matter that I read the back page of the book before I read the front.
You're so weird.
But I like to see. If you're someone who doesn't reread books...
Oh, no, I do reread books.
You reread books?
I reread books.
How often do you get more on the second reading? Because you know what's going to happen.
Ooh, okay, so that...
That's the thing. So if you know the conclusion...
I just love the story. I love the, like what happens in the book, like, between the character and how the character gets from A to B and what they go through.
But you don't always appreciate the A to B on a first viewing.
Not on a first viewing, no.
So, but if you understand where something ends up,
yeah,
it makes you appreciate the journey more.
It does, which is why I've got like books that I had to buy, like the Night World books. Like, I read them as a child, but they were like.
If you think you reread books, other than Pratchett, which I know all of them off by heart anyway, and they're too bonkers to. I mean, I read them out of order.
Yeah.
So even though they're all standalones, I kind of ended up at an ending point for some of the characters anyway, and then retroactive, which might explain why I do it like this.
It could be.
It could be, and also I read weirdly. I was talking about this.
I mean, you dog-ear pages too, so I can't even.
I do, but I was saying this to Jaleesa. I don't skim read. I think it was Jaleesa I was saying this to. No, it might be Jenny actually. Because we were talking about the way I read the other day. I read oddly because I don't read every word. I will.
Oh, no, I read every word.
No, so I don't skim read. This is where it's going to get really confusing. So you have a chapter. So turn to page 211 because that's where I've opened.
What, in the Whistling?
Yes, because it's the book we both own.
211.
Yeah.
Both I bought them 3 times. Right, okay.
So there's what, 4 chapters, paragraphs on that page. I will skim read all the way down that page, and as I'm skim reading down the page, I'm reading the previous chapter again. I'm reading two paragraphs at once. I get the gist and then I add the context retroactively. That's how I read so fast.
That's so weird.
It's very
I
weird.
don't know how you do that. I read every single fucking line. That's what I think sometimes, like, when I read, I think I read really, really fast. Yeah. But sometimes I have to really take in, like, what I'm reading. So I like proper word by word.
This is why I have an issue with classics. because
That
language
makes
has changed.
so much fucking sense.
When I was thinking about it, it's like, this is why I have issues with classics, because language has changed that much.
Oh, yeah.
I skim read, and then my brain isn't getting the context clues properly, so then I have to reread it multiple times. It's like when someone talks to me, I get really annoyed when I'm reading, because I have to stop and go back and look down.
I mean, I think that's all of us at that point.
Yeah.
Someone like interrupts when we're reading, we have to like stop, look at them, listen to them, like, okay, cool. Have to start the whole fucking page again.
Yeah, but the other thing is that's how I remember so much on a lot of books, because I naturally reinforce as I go. So I'm pulling out the key points and then putting the facts in for the key points. It's a weird way of doing
It's
things.
so fucking weird, but I get it.
It's like I can give you all the main plot points of Fourth Wing, main characters, names, a load of the locations.
No, I make fucking notes. I read it word by word, and if I'm okay, I'm gonna have to really get into this, I write fucking notes on it. I've got a pad of paper, I got my pens with different things, and I'm fucking going. Let me see what they're saying. Julie says, I rarely reread books, but I buy the ones that I think I might. I'm reading the first and last page, doesn't do much for me.
No, I do realise that this makes me a bit weird.
Yeah, just a little.
It's
a baffling way to read, though.
That's how I do most things, though. I skip ahead. I turn my brain off a little bit.
I can't, because when I read it, I actually imagine like what the people, as it describes, I imagine like I start to build in my mind like what they actually like. You know when people say they hear voices in their head, like when they think of stuff. I don't have the images.
No, I do. So
no,
I have the voice.
This is where it's gonna go.
So literally, like when I skim read,
yeah,
that gives me the picture. And then as the picture's developing, think of it like a filming thing. I'm building the set, and then I'm playing the scene on the set.
So
like sort of slightly off. It's the easiest way I can describe it. Think of it another way. I read like I work.
You know what? Yeah, you do.
Because if you ever watch me in work,
I do like this all the time.
Yes, Noah is a voyeur. In case you didn't know.
You can't say
if you ever watch me in work, right, you'll notice that when I'm working a normal pallet of stock, I'm already looking. I'm putting one thing out. I've already decided what the next thing is where it's going, and I'm looking at the next thing I'm going to pick up and look.
You do that, yeah.
I'm running ahead. That's why I move so quickly. It's not normal.
It's not, but it works.
But that's because I'm hitting the flow of work, and books are the same for me. I need to hit the flow, and if I don't hit a flow in a book, I'm fucked.
Yeah, no, that's me with Atlas at the moment.
And Atlas is a really difficult one to get any flow on because
I can't imagine a lot of the things. So that's probably why, because I don't feel a story, I don't read a story the way that I would normally. That's probably why I'm struggling so much more.
Again, it's not really that's not a descriptive book, not really. It's got a few moments, but it's very bare bones.
Yeah, very bare.
It's quite high concept in many regards. It's just very hidden high concept. It's not obvious. It's very, very subtle. But again, if you know what you're looking for, hence why I suggested reading the last chapter to you. If you know what you're looking for, and then you read because you're looking for those clues, you can start to go, hang on. Oh, it's them.
Right, okay.
That's how... Now, I didn't do that with it because I did audiobook it.
Yeah, which might be the better way to go because I'm struggling so much.
Because, again, audiobooks, I don't really actively listen to.
Oh,
I'm not the only one.
Wait, let me read. So, wait, we need to read this. Jenny doesn't send how you can go in blind to book. I'm with Jenny on that because I like to know a little bit of what I'm going into. Last time I didn't research what I was going into. Because of book talk, I ended up with monster romance, which I didn't even know existed, and that I've been traumatized ever since.
Fae romance was a thing.
I didn't even know Fae romance was a thing until very recently. I don't know, but I want to dive into it and see what it's about. Yes, it was me. I asked if you skim because you read so fast. Okay. I usually read up in groups of text, and that's how I end up speed reading. Well, I'm the same with Nose. I have to read. Yeah, thank you, Jenny, because it's a normal way to go. No, I'm joking.
So we talk about the last book I bought that I didn't read.
Wait, let me just see what they're saying. Yeah, I'm reading all the words because sometimes I'm thinking things can be cut off. Oh no, you aren't weird. I had friends that did the same thing that would read the first page, last page, and random page in the middle. That's so weird.
Yeah, so it gives you an idea because this book lies.
It is. It's
The
lied about
synopsis
everything.
lies.
Yes.
So if you buy this book based on the synopsis,
Yeah, it's
you're
a
going to
lie.
be disappointed.
Mhm.
But if you read the first, the last, and the middle page,
You'd still be
get
disappointed.
well, yes, but you might not buy it because you've got an idea of the writing style.
3 times.
Yeah. Yes, you bought it 3 times, which is more embarrassing for you. Maybe
I
don't
know.
explain. Don't accept that. The last book I bought without researching was Hell Followed With Us.
Oh, this one.
I purely cover bought that, and it's led to me buying a gothic horror by the same author, which I've not read yet. Which is
Okay.
going to be interesting because that is set in the Victorian age. It tells you
Ooh.
in an asylum.
Yeah, I have books behind me that are historical fiction, and they say it on there. So why this doesn't say it baffles me.
Yeah, because the other thing is there's nothing in this book that is elevated by it being set in 1860. You
True.
know, it's a remote Scottish island. There's every chance, sorry, Scotland, but there's every chance on a remote Scottish island you wouldn't have internet, you wouldn't have signal, you'd have limited outside connections because it'd be remote. Electricity would be at best spotty. In fact, I don't remember them mentioning candles in the book as a form of lighting, just on a side point. They probably
Yeah, they did.
did.
They did.
Did I just... Well...
This is you
what's-
reading the strange way. No,
Yeah.
they mentioned lighting candles in the rooms and the halls because there was no electricity. There's nothing.
Okay.
I don't think there was electricity.
But-
Yeah, no, it mentioned that they were like really behind with everyone because they're so
Yeah.
closed off, and
It still could be in modern day. Because it's such a remote area.
yeah.
Setting it in 1860, this is something I don't understand. If a setting doesn't add to the story, why use that as the setting?
I cannot answer you for that.
That is question one. If the setting has to add something to the story, be it a natural ambience,
It
or
doesn't
a
have that,
challenge,
though.
or views of people at the time, which mental health and disability, maybe you could argue a little bit.
Yeah.
Because, again, there is some not great representation there.
Yeah, that word, representation
But
of a lot of
past
things.
that, why couldn't this be set in 1975?
It might have done a bit better for me if it did.
Yeah. And it could have been. And there's nothing in there that suggests otherwise. Because, let's be realistic, the attitudes haven't really changed that much.
Mm-hmm. True.
Language would make more sense.
Yep.
Just...
It's such a... I
And
wouldn't...
the thing is, if people like this book, and I know a lot of people do, you're not wrong. I need to say that, because I don't say things like that very often when I disagree with people. But you're not wrong if you like this book. I just don't understand how.
Why? Yeah. Your own opinions matter. They're good. I like that you like something, but why?
It's like I need someone to tell me why they like it.
Yeah, because when I've
Because-
read through the reviews, it doesn't make sense.
The thing is, right, the reason this got a 2 from it, because it's not badly written. It's scantily written. It's very utilitarian in its prose, which has its pros and cons, pardon the bad pun there. But it's competently written. It is paced consistently, if slowly. So again, I don't do well, generally speaking, with slow books. I don't know what to press them. Breaking things. I'm doing a Noah. We have
Yep.
to scuff. Forgot what I was saying. Yeah, it's competently written. The main character is consistent in the way they act and react. So, okay. The world is consistent. Nothing,
It is.
Nothing in all that is bad. So, in terms of it being, I can see why people would give this a 3. The reason I gave it a 2 is because it just wasn't interesting to me personally. It was what I hate in a book. It was character light.
Yeah.
There was no world build. The world building was never built upon.
No,
it was hinted
wasn't.
at and never built upon, and that's fine if the world build, if the hinting is really interesting.
Yeah.
But it didn't give you enough to be interested in it. There's a circle of stones on a hill.
Build on that.
Yeah, it may have been used for pagan sacrifices.
Ooh, but we're gonna move past that.
Then it doesn't come up again until they need to clean the dolls or whatever it was.
Yeah.
To demagify them.
Demagify them. I love that.
Yeah, just cast a spell magic. It's a level 3 spell. Anyway.
D&D.
But I don't know. I don't know
either.
I'm glad it was 375 pages.
I'm glad it wasn't longer. It should have been a lot fucking shorter, though.
I think it took me 3 hours to read.
Probably around about the same, but I split it between 2 days because I just couldn't.
But, I mean, it's almost put me off reading.
Don't let stuff like that put you off.
I have noticed a slowdown in my reading since I read that.
No, and mine's picked up.
Well, yeah, you've started. Actually, I'm saying that. No, it's not slowed down.
She said. But here's the thing, though.
Those jokes.
Oh Lord. Just to go back just a little bit about when you read books.
Oh God.
How do you imagine it? Like, is it just words, or is it just your voice reading it back to you when you do it, or do you actually imagine?
So.
That's the question for everyone else in chat as well.
So when I read a scene, now. We need to establish my reading history here. Actually, I think this is important.
Omegaverse. No, I'm joking.
I'm not certain, people. You know who you are. Anyway,
yes, you know who you are.
Anyway, I'm gonna get battered. Right.
Me too. Should we just hide away together?
You only need a small box to hide. So, I have primarily read fantasy, right?
Yes.
And the key thing that you have with fantasy is that you tend to have strong world building and strong character arcs. They're the sort of two main things. You don't get romance, generally speaking. Fantasy is really bad at romance. And you tend to find that the plotting and the story is over a much grander scale a lot of the time.
Yeah.
That's why fantasy tends to fall itself into series more than pretty much any other genre, with the possible exception of sci-fi. And sci-fi is a similar sort of thing. It has to rely on the world building because the world is different.
Yeah.
So it needs to get that right. So because I read a lot of series books early on, I developed a habit of picturing in my mind the scene. I basically create a TV show in my head. That's the best way to describe it. I create an imagery of the scene. Bear in mind, I started reading Wheel of Time at 16.
I'm actually just really creeped out by what Jaleesa just put in chat. When I read a scene, I see faceless characters interacting. That's like a horror story. That mannequins.
So, I think I've got like a pre-pop.
Oh,
this will make sense to you from D&D.
Okay.
I have a pre-populated set of characters in my head at all times. How they physically look, how they react, so on and so forth, and I slot those characters in to stories.
Okay, that makes sense.
It's a lot easier if, say, so I read Six of Crows. Feast of Crows is a different book. Recently. Now, I have not watched the Shadow and Bone TV series, but I have seen clips of it. So when I'm reading that, I'm seeing the characters from those clips. Because
weird.
I've got an idea of what they look like.
No.
When I read Wheel of Time, because Wheel of Time is so descriptive, and it is ridiculous. I mean, they tell you what the curtains are made of, for Christ's sake. It puts Game of Thrones to shame in terms of descriptive work. Not necessarily in a good way. Although I can't read Game of Thrones. Tried.
I used to have the whole series, but I lent it to someone at Pet when I worked there, and they never gave it me back.
I tried listening to book one, and I got about halfway through.
I
And I was
read
just
half of
bored.
book one before
Yeah,
they took the whole series and borrowed it. It's actually written very well.
it is. Now, if you take that, if you go from like Lord of the Rings to that to
I've
Wheel of
never read
Time,
Lord of the Rings or The Hobbit.
okay, well, I have no words for that. But I read Wheel of Time first, and it has a big, it's 14 books, I think it is. Is it 14? I can't see from here. It's a lot of books.
Yeah.
It's like 14,000 pages or something. Um, there's a lot of descriptive work in there that builds the world, so that gives you the framework to see the world. If it's got cover art on it, I use the cover art to inform what I think the world will look like.
Yeah. That makes
So,
sense.
so I build a picture of what the world looks like, and then I pull the bits out of the context of how it describes the characters and put them in. And if I don't have enough information, I go, well, this is similar to this character from this, move them in.
See, I don't like. I've never been able to like imagine it from people like if there's a series of it. I've never like thought of them and thought, oh, that's. When I imagine the characters, I generally do like create what they look like in my head, and that's how I view them as. And when sometimes if I go to watch something that has been made onto like different media, I'm like, that I don't like the look of that because they look worse than what I thought.
Yeah,
Random shit like that.
fair.
But the same thing is that I don't understand why everyone's like, I can never imagine what they look like. Then how can you like imagine it in your head? Then these cool, amazing, interesting characters and stories if you can't imagine what the characters look like. You know, that baffles me.
That's how I do it. Also, just a side point on Lord of the Rings, which is something that I found out the other day. So obviously,
Oh, is this about the length of the time it goes through? Because
No,
was it
this
you or
is
Jenny
something
who told me about this? About how long do you think the story goes through?
I told you because we were discussing it in work, and
Right.
you were surprised.
Yeah.
But I had never realised that each book of Lord of the Rings is actually split in two. They originally, it was never released as like a 6-book series, but originally when the full set was released, it was released as like an appendices and 6 books.
Oh, I like that. I
And
want that.
That's the version that I've got.
I
I'd
think
never
I might find it
realised.
easier to read if it's like that because they're kind of they're like decentish books, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean the thing is as well, you've seen this with Wheel of Time did it with its first book. I got into Wheel of Time because book one was actually at one point split into a part 1 and a part 2.
Oh, okay.
And that's how I read it. And I believe one of Sanderson's series, Way of Kings, I think it might be. I think he's done the same with that, where there's a book 1 and a book 2 to get people, because 600-page book can be a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh my god, it's so many words. And yeah, we got horribly sidetracked then. But yeah, that's how I say, because I have voices in my head.
And I don't. I have imagery. I have images instead.
I have both.
I don't. When I think, I don't hear a voice. I don't hear my voice. I don't hear any other voice. It's completely empty in there. Shock horror.
I hear.
But I
multiple
see
voices.
images. When someone asks me, oh, we're going to go down to this street, I'm like, I can't tell you the name of the street, but I can tell you what it looks like.
I have a voice telling me the name and a voice describing it.
I don't. I've never had
Which,
that, and
again,
it baffles me
when
that people hear voices in their heads.
When you consider the way that I read, that makes even more sense. Because it's problematic. I mean, multi-leveled. Because I'm a special boy.
Jaleesa says that's why I'm a stickler about authors creating and using space. If the character is going to the same place all the time, I don't want to be there. Oof.
See, that makes sense. I mean, the thing is as well, is it's all very well potentially going to the same spot sometimes. If the initial description is good, and then they don't feel the need to describe it over and over again, they establish the baseline. And it's the same thing with, bizarrely enough, actually, with rules in like a magic system. If you're going to break a rule, you need to establish what the rules are.
Yes.
And it's something that a lot of books do not do. And it's a similar sort of thing. What this book does is it tells you the same information over and over again with no change.
Okay.
And it doesn't reinforce anything. It just makes it fuzzier.
Yeah.
Because it's the same thing.
Over and
Maybe
over
the
again.
plate's red this time.
Oh no.
Why do I care? What does that matter? Is it the colour of blood? Is it a portent? No, it's just a red plate.
It means nothing.
It could mean something. It does not.
Jalisa also says, I enjoyed The Hobbit. Lord of the Rings is long. I don't have the patience now for all of that. So, like, it's difficult.
I have a question. And I suspect I'm the only one here. Has anyone read the Silmarillion?
The what? What is this? What is a Silmarillion? Wait,
so,
what? Silmarillion.
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 In the timeline of Tolkien,
Okay.
Lord of the Rings is the latest book in the series.
Okay.
Straight before that is The Hobbit, which is set about 80 years earlier.
Yes, I think I own The Hobbit, but I've never read it.
I have The Hobbit.
It's a very small book. I don't know how they made that into a movie.
That was the problem with the movie. They made it into a trilogy.
Oh, yeah. Oh, wait, is that all the one book?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
They put stuff in, unlike Lord of the Rings, the movies, where they took stuff out to get it all on over the movies, and they took some very good stuff out of the books on a side point. The Hobbit, they added stuff in to pad out the time. It should have been one movie. But it's quite a narrow period of time, The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings. We'll call it, 130 years maybe? From the start of The Hobbit till the end of Lord of the Rings? Not even that. The Silmarillion covers the previous 4,000 years.
Oh.
And it's the story of the elves' homeland and then why the elves came
What's
to
Middle Earth.
Rivendell.
Rivendell, I was so close.
Yeah. But why they came to Middle Earth, where Sauron came from, because Sauron was not the first Dark Lord. He was...
Oh.
When
was this book released?
This is ancient. It was released similar time. I've not got it anymore. I lent it to Andrea, and I need to poke her.
You should poke her about that.
And interestingly enough, this is the book that I've read is the unabridged version, so it's in the original prose, which means it's in the early 20th century writing style, which made it really difficult to read. But it covers like Lothlorien, which is where
she's supposed to be.
It goes into her history, so like
she's supposed to be like fucking badass, like very powerful and strong. I know a little bit.
The TV series covers some of what's in the I think it takes place between the Silmarillion and the thing, if I remember correctly. But it covers, where does Shelob the spider come from? Because Shelob was not the original Dark Spider.
She wasn't?
No, I think she was... Now, here we go. This is a test from my memory. I think she was...
Everyone hold on to your seats. He's going to show his age.
She was one of the daughters of Ungoloth, I think that it's pronounced, who was a dark spirit from where the elves come from. And they were created by the original Dark Lord, who was called something beginning with M. I can't remember what it is. And obviously he came across, and it covers it covers everything. But obviously it's a Cliff Notes version, so you've got a little bit of this, and then 200 years later this, and 200 years later this, because it covers like when Elrond was born, because Elrond isn't a full elf. He's a half elf.
I did not know that.
No. It covers what Gandalf is, because Gandalf is a Maya. He's a spirit. He's almost a god.
I thought he was just an old man.
No. Gandalf was one of 5 wizards that was sent across with the elves to help to help keep them safe. And there was 2 blue wizards who were never only mentioned in things. There's Radgast the Brown, who was in Hobbit.
Yeah, I know him.
There's Gandalf the White, and Gandalf the Grey, and Saruman the White. Saruman was the leader, but they were all elven spirits given form, so called Maya. So they were not quite gods. They were like a couple of steps below. So like when Gandalf's fighting the Balrog, the Balrog is a similar sort of spirit, but on the evil side. That's why Gandalf almost didn't survive. Nobody else could survive that, because this is a couple of steps below a god that was created for the first war against the elves by whatever Morgoth, I think the first dark god was called. I'm gonna have to go check that.
My mind is blown because I didn't know any of that at all.
It is Morgoth. I remembered, because Sauron was Morgoth's kind of apprentice, who then usurped him over time. There's a lot, and when you really dig into it, you see how much effect that's had on epic fantasy or traditional fantasy in general, because everything is linked on Western side of stuff anyway. So much of it is directly linked to the Tolkien stuff that you can't unpack it.
Wow. Okay.
So there's a lot.
Yeah.
And I just need to add, I haven't read Lord of the Rings in about 20 years, and I haven't read the Silmarillion in a similar amount of time, and I've managed to remember all that. It covers like epic battles and all sorts.
Damn.
Dragons. The dragon in The
I
Hobbit.
love dragons.
Okay, so Smaug in The Hobbit
Smog.
is about 10% the size of the largest ever dragon in that existed over in the Elven lands.
Oh wow.
Which was called something like Asgaroth or something beginning with A. I can't remember. There's actually size charts on the internet that shows all the dragon
I'm gonna
sizes.
have to look them up.
And it's literally like you've literally got. I need something really small. Oh, well, come over here. So literally, you'll have something like that.
Yeah.
And then you've got the biggest dragon.
Oh
In
damn.
comparison, if not bigger, actually.
Did you just pull out fucking Legends and Lattes?
No, this is my Gothic book.
Oh. For some
Which is
reason I
another
thought it was. That is a pretty cover.
No, Legends and Lattes is somewhere.
I need to get the second book. Jenny says, didn't realize how much there was behind all the characters. I have to agree with you. I didn't know that either.
There's a hell of a lot. There's even a reason why the characters have the colours that they have. So Gandalf the Grey is grey because it's a symbol of age and wisdom. It's like the ring that he has at the end when he's going over. That ring is really important because you know, like
they don't explain any of this sort of stuff to people when they get into the movies and shit. Let alone
3 rings for the Elven Lord.
Yeah, it doesn't really go into like it gives you that little rhyme which I thought was amazing when I first watched it.
That is one of the 3 rings.
What? Oh, let me. Oh. Oh, okay.
Because
I didn't know that.
The elves were nearly incorruptible, nearly. So he was gifted that by Galadriel.
Wait,
because
so
she couldn't see anyone as more worthy or more safe to hold that ring, and it didn't have the effect on it because it was smithed by an elf, which was kind of added by video games. It's I can't remember. I think it's called Glamdring was one of the swords. Each of they're like elemental rings, so I think it was the fire ring basically that Gandalf had, or the element of fire. And then Elrond had one, and Galadriel had one.
You know what we need to do? We need to have a moment where we actually go back and we read like The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings, and we just have like a really big talk about like all the stuff that we did not know about, because this is baffling to me.
There's a lot.
There is a lot.
There's a hell of a lot.
My mind's kind of like gone.
Because the other thing is, I deep dive lore anyway when I'm reading stuff. If I'm interested enough.
Need to do that at some point.
Fourth Wing, I did this.
I feel like I would do that with Fourth Wing.
Yeah, because part of it is what's going on here, but there was certain... Now, this has led to me... I already know how the second book ends by accident, which is fine. But never mind. I'm curious how it gets there, however, and that's the important thing. But it's... I wanted to understand how, like, the different dragons are and how it works, because that's world building. Because if the world building is right, it informs the characters better. It naturally fleshes them out. Especially if you have a unreliable narrator. Which you kind of do in Fourth Wing, because you have someone with a very narrow upbringing.
I mean, it happens.
Yeah, well, they're related to a general in the army who is one of the most famous dragon riders in the world.
I did not know that. Don't spoil things for me, because I do want to read the book. What I do wish, though,
the first 3 pages.
Here's my grips with certain books, right? With these sorts of books, love that they're hardback. Hate slipcovers. They need to have actual designs underneath them, because slipcovers rip and break, and I hate that. The maps that they put in them, I absolutely love that they put maps in them, put color on them. Yes, I'm colorblind, but I do want to see at least some sort of color.
I don't mind.
And I want like little bookmarks included with a little bit of like ribbon in the middle.
I mean, that's what special editions are for.
I mean, want all the things.
The maps in this are not great, if I'm completely honest.
In Fourth Wing, I glanced at it when I put my bookmark in to be like, I will be reading this at some point. But
if I'm going to be critical, the map I built for my world is better.
Oh, damn.
You've seen the map of my world.
I have.
So I got bored one day and decided to start building maps. because that's how I do things. I just hyperfixate and then go and do everything until I get bored.
I do the
Hence
same.
20 books last month.
Someone's
And
bought
no
90
video game.
books since the book ban.
No, I've not. I don't know what you mean.
No.
We're not discussing that.
No.
And to be fair, I haven't read anything that
You've
I didn't
done well.
already own. I've just added to it. It's Jaleesa's fault. Jaleesa's still in
Oh,
the chat.
Jalisa. Yeah, Jalisa, is this your fault?
Part of it's Jaleesa's fault because one of the books I've picked up is one that she recommended.
Oh.
So it's all Jaleesa's fault.
Oh, I
Blame
see.
Jalisa. And you, to be fair,
What have I done?
because of going to what was the name of the book that I picked up? I know I went through the whole list with you earlier, but there was a lot on that list.
There was a lot.
I Feed the Beast and the Beast is Me. Was that what it was called? Yeah. So
I need to look up a book called Queen's Teeth. I need you to read it and then let me know if it's okay.
Queen's Teeth.
Queen's Teeth.
What
Something
the hell?
like that. Don't look it up now. Don't look it up now.
By Ellery Queen.
Maybe.
Oh,
I don't know.
No, it's not. Hang on. That's a different book entirely. That's a book. If it's that book, don't buy that because that's book 15 in a series.
No, it's not a series.
I think I spelled teeth wrong. Okay, Goodreads not being very fucking helpful. Don't go into
It looks
that.
like she's back into the... No, Peanut, no!
Oh, is she back in the thing?
Stay.
Queen's Teeth.
I'm sure it's called, like, Queen's Teeth or something
I
like
found
that.
Queen of Teeth.
That's the one. That might be it. Is this
Noah,
to do with teeth?
Noah,
Don't... Yeah.
I'm just looking at the cover. I've not clicked on it yet.
What's the cover?
You're looking at romance.
It's
aren't
not
you?
romance. It is not romance.
Well, I'm looking at that cover. And that's
It's
giving
not
that sort of vibe.
romance.
What the hell? Well, by romance, I mean smut.
Not really. So this woman, anyway. Oh, sorry,
Okay.
not sorry.
Oh, okay. That's a
They
different cover.
get teeth. It's about
Okay.
teeth in places.
Okay. so
Experimentation.
I just need to. She assumes the vagina detention is a side effect of rare genetic condition.
You ever see the movie Teeth?
No, I have heard of the movie.
It's so funny. Oh, I watched it in college.
Oh, I need to say something, but in fact, I'm going to send you the cover that
I'm
I
not
saw
going to be
straight.
able to do it on WhatsApp because I've got my thing on the shoopy doop.
Right, hang on. Let me
I
watch
should
that
probably.
app.
My phone's on silent still. I've had it off to be hiding from a.
So just look at the cover from there, and you can understand why I'd say romance. I would say that's a more of a romance cover than the one that I then found on.
Ow. Oh wait, Peanut unplugged my headphones, you bitch. Peanut, no. Ah!
It
Get
does
off.
sound suspicious. It does. It's not a book that.
Yeah, that
I
looks like a romance, but it's not the one that I was talking about.
No, it is the same one.
Oh,
It's
is
just a
it?
different cover.
Oh.
Noah.
Yeah.
It is a romance. It does have the romance tag.
Mm.
Horror, LGBT, queer, sci-fi, fiction, romance,
LGBT.
adult. Yes, Alphabet Mafia, which is my new term for it. What else have you written?
As
Normally
part
we
of
go-
that, as part of the LGBT or the Alphabet Mafia, I agree with that.
Yes.
You should read that and then tell me about it.
Absolutely not.
Why?
Have you seen my list for this year?
You've got like 90 books you've just bought. Yeah, I've seen Teeth. It's the most funniest movie. It was supposed to be like a serious horror, but when she goes in them stirrups with the doctor doing a gynecology exam,
Sorry.
it was
did you
so fucking funny.
Please say stirrups again.
Stirrups.
You're saying it wrong in the way that I should say it wrong all the time, and I love it. Just so you know.
But no,
This
she
is
does
a
it.
rare occasion that I can pull you for the letter
No.
R instead of the other way around.
Don't be worried. It's fine.
Because you normally get me for that.
Yeah, all the time.
But no, I feel like I've got to defend myself over this failure of book buying.
Book ban, bought 90 books.
I did. I haven't bought 90 books.
Look, well, 70 at least.
I haven't. No.
Yeah.
Right.
Look me in the eyes. Look me. No. Look at me in the eyes. Look at the.
I can't look you in the eyes because I've not got you on my screen at the moment.
Fine.
I went through my list with Noah before, and to be fair to me, most of them were 99p.
Doesn't matter. You still bought like 70 something books.
I've not read any of them yet.
Doesn't matter. You still bought them on a book.
And I've only got, once I've finished what I'm reading today, I think I've only got 6 to read from a Read What You Own challenge.
Oh, okay.
And then I can move on to my banned book challenge, which I've already started because, yeah, and you can read Akatar, which is banned book.
I do want to read that. I want to get into that and see what all the kerfuffle's about with it.
So, right, the thing is, now Jaleesa's read more, well, Jaleesa's been reading it, but I believe, and I think Jaleesa might be able to correct me if I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure I'm not wrong though, is that the court books actually are crossing over with the other set of books that she's done, and I can't remember what they're called, and it's going to bug me, so I'm going to have to look it up. Sarah J. That's not how you spell Sarah. En masse, because it's double A-S.
Yeah.
That's how you spell Sarah. There we go. So she's done the court books, the throne books, and the house books. And I believe it's one of the house books that are out, the House of the Crescent Moon.
Yes,
books.
the one that's just come out recently. Yeah.
Yeah, and that crosses over with Akatar. Like full on crosses over, as in it's set in Akatar's world.
Oh, okay.
Which I don't know how I feel about massive shared universes like that in books.
I know the stuff of the whisper of most of them were 99p. It's like that doesn't mean anything. It's still a book buying ban.
To be clear, the ones that weren't 99p
were series.
No. The ones that weren't 99p are all pre-orders, and I've not paid for most of them yet. In my defence.
I don't see how a pre-order could be 99p.
That's why I said the ones that are not 99p are pre-orders.
Right. I misheard you.
Yes, you did. I know you're trying to get me in trouble, Noah, but I have no
Is
shame,
it working?
So it's fine. No.
It is.
No, because I currently have 4 books in my my basket right now. I've not hit buy yet.
Yeah, that's the main word there.
But what books are you looking forward to, Noah? This has turned into a podcast now, by the way.
I know. What books am I looking forward to this month?
Yeah.
Well, I've got one behind me that's right behind me. This book here. Oh, look at this. Oh, I should not even be holding this right now. Oh.
You know what the irony is? Is number 1, I can't see you because it had annoyed me.
Oh, right.
But also number 2, I had the option to steal that yesterday without you.
And you didn't. No.
But what else? What is coming out this year?
Well, I've got that Destiny Quest Raiders that I pre-ordered.
Is that March?
No, it's not out till May.
Is it May? Okay, fair enough. I had a feeling it was March. What's the 3 times combo? I don't know.
I think it's when a certain emoji is used 3 times in a row.
Well, I've just done it lots of times. And
yeah,
it's
so
not
I've got that. I've got.
Anyway.
So that's 2 books.
You've enjoyed the house books more than Akatar. Okay, I might have to buy one of them then.
Because I want to get into Fae Fantasy. Where do I go? I want to get. Fantasy. Yeah, but which is best to go into as a beginner? I am going to get Fae Bound.
Probably not Akatar.
On payday. Oh, probably. I don't know. There's quite a few books that I like, but I've not gone for. I don't want to be in the Actor world. What I enjoy most about her house series is that it's in a world more like ours, so I guess it's somewhat urban fantasy.
So the problem you have with Fae Fantasy, right, is if it's accurate to Fae lore, which Cruel Princes is a good example. It's relatively accurate to how Fae are historically portrayed.
Yeah.
Fae are bastards.
Yeah.
Like, properly. And we are just cattle to them.
Oh, so we're just breeding machines then?
Kind of, yeah.
Oh, wait, are you serious?
We are lesser creatures.
Oh, how mean.
Because don't forget, Fae are pretty much immortal.
Cunts.
as a rule of thumb.
How dare
Or
they?
even in like D&D, elves live 700 years.
Okay, you got a point there.
So, and in Lord of the Rings, they're immortal, pretty much, unless they've got human blood. It's like, on a side point, here's another one that's going to blow your mind, Lord of the Rings related. You know, Aragorn isn't actually completely human.
I know he's part Elven, isn't he?
Sort of. He's a descendant of the first men specifically, which means he lives, I think, in the books. After the books, lives to about 160.
Yeah,
I think.
I think I know that one at
Ridiculous.
least.
Yeah.
I remember someone telling me that before.
But there's it. It depends what you want. What do you want from? I'm going to regret asking you this. What do you want from a fae-based romance novel?
I see a lot of videos where people get these feelings and they get like really excited. They get very upset that something's happened to these characters, and I want to feel that.
Okay, but what sort of book are you after? Because if I've not.
I do want there to be romance.
So, the thing is, right? If you want,
but I don't want to be like, oh, I'm a bad elf dude, and it's like, oh, now they're lovers. It's like I don't skip that.
Okay. So you don't want smut. It's basically what you're saying.
No, is that what's in all the other books?
Some of them.
Which is fine. I can read that.
It doesn't surprise. I love how excited you sounded when saying that. I can read that now. Fetch it to me.
Listen, I had a
You had a month.
That's what I was going. Yeah, I had a month where I read stuff like that, and I've experienced things.
You have missed a trick. You could have done February. Sorry, that's just come off top of my head.
Well, how dare you?
I wouldn't start with Cruel Prince
Mm.
because whilst it is described as a romance, it is not. It is a political fae. It is fae politics with a side order of.
I'm really bad with political shit, so I like.
It's really interesting. It's really good.
I don't know why sometimes.
You'd find it a bit dry, I think.
So I've read that Throne Grasses with that assassin woman, right?
What?
The assassin woman.
Throne of Glass.
Yeah. I remember reading that a good few years ago, but it's been years since I've read that.
How many did you read them?
I think I read like 2 or 3.
Okay, so in book 3 she becomes an elf.
I remember that.
Right, so
that's literally.
Depending on how you read it, she is descended from elf. This is why
I thought she was an elf all the way through it. To be honest, I'm not gonna lie.
No, she doesn't look like elves can shape change in Throne of Glass's universe.
That is. I don't remember.
You won't.
It's been years.
You may not have got. I've not got to that point yet.
Oh.
I just, again, lore hound. I go and read things, or I read interviews and it gets spoiled. That's how like the whole crossover between Core and the other one is going to be, because it mentions shape-changing fae apparently in one of the Akatar books, and they are specifically the fae from Throne of Glass's dimension.
Oh, okay.
And you do have dimensional portals. It is a magical thing that is introduced early on, which suggests you do have a Marvel-style multiverse going on, which is fucking horrendous with something like that, but makes sense. But I don't think... I'm struggling with Throne of Glass, if I'm honest. But I don't think Holly Black's Folk of Air is a good start for you. I think you'll find that a bit too dry.
Okay.
If you get my meaning. No. Sorry. Don't know. Yeah, the thing... I love Fae lore.
I want to get into stuff like that though. I like it, and I it's been a while since I've read anything to do with it, and I like when I got into it originally, I did like to dive into stuff, and I want to get back into that. But I don't want to be like, well, this is the political side. It's like, yeah, I get this politicalness stuff and that, but I don't want that to be like the main thing of the book.
If you want to read a Fae book, but it's not a romance, and this sounds like a weird recommendation, Lords and Ladies by Terry Pratchett. It's one of the Witches books, and it specifically talks about superstition and elves specifically, and or the fair folk as they're referred to, and it's really, really good. Now the drawback is it isn't book one of the Witches series.
Hmm.
On the flip side, it doesn't matter what order you read Discworld books. So, but that's an as a basic introduction into Fey lore. That is actually quite good because it gives you like a general sort of thing.
I'll have a look at that.
So I can throw it your way. I've got it on my shelf anyway. Summer's not got that one at the moment.
She's not got that one.
No, she's got Weird Sisters, which is book one of the
okay.
ones. Past that, I've not read a huge amount of.
I've not read a huge amount.
White Rabbit. Yeah, I've not read a huge amount of Fae stuff.
No, I do want to get into it.
And in fact, a lot of my fantasy books that I have read does not have. Thinking about it, doesn't have Fae in it.
Interesting. Okay.
Actually, just quickly looking over my bookcases. Does any of it have elves in it, other than Lord of the Rings? I don't think it does.
But I do need to nip this in the bud just so I can take Milo out for a walk.
Okay.
And I do need to go for a wee as well.
we wandered away.
We did, but it was a good wander. I liked the wander.
So, yeah, this is how our conversations used to go on the podcast.
Yeah.
And then I had to spend hours.
Yeah.
Trying to cut it down to an hour's worth of content.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, nothing problematic this time.
Oh, you haven't read a lot of Face stuff either. Interesting. I thought you did.
No, I'm gonna have to. I think I have a lot of Fae stuff that I've not read. Just sort of on Kindle. I've just not got around to it yet. I think I'm sure C.S. Pascat. Is that how you pronounce his name?
I'm sorry, what? Gesundheit.
You've heard of Fence. We've talked about it before.
Yes.
The thing. So they have also done sort of romancy novels, and I think they're Fae. It's called Dark. Is it Dark Air? Possibly. That's a really unhelpful thing, computer.
It's all good.
Dark Rise. Okay.
Aw, thanks. We appreciate it. We do appreciate that you've been here waffling on with us as well.
I appreciate whoever said that because I don't have the screen up on me.
Okay, so they said, thanks, this was a good time. You all...
Who's they?
Jaleesa, sorry, thanks. This was a good time. You all fairly discussed and rated the book. Jenny said you should do this live more often. Jaleesa agreed. And Jenny said, what a fab chat, guys. I had a good time.
We are going to be doing a live, but on my channel, I believe.
Yes.
For whatever it's called, Swan Soldier Book 2. I can't remember the title of it.
I can just look behind me. Let me have a look.
Is that...
What feasts at night?
I think Dark Rise is Fae? Not sure. I'm going to have a dig. I know I own it.
Okay.
I bought it a while ago. That wasn't part of the ban. That's another one I picked up cheap. Why have I just looked at it again on Amazon?
I don't know.
What are you doing, you twit?
I don't know.
Right, anyway.
But yes, thank you for joining us.
Up with me.
Well, thank you for putting up with me.
I mean, you put up with me because I've just gone off on a...
It's fine. It's been a good chat. It's been a good little natter.
Proper tangent.
It's been fun. We need to get more people in on this.
Okay. Oh, no, it might not be Faye, actually.
But,
I will find you some recommendations.
Do that.
You might not thank me for that.
But yes, you'll be good. We will catch you next time. Next reading sprint, I'm looking at doing on Sunday. So...
I will be in work.
Sad times.
Until I finish work, and then it will not be in work.
It's
2 weeks. 2 weeks. No.
No, I'm ignoring you now. We're going.
All right.